Hey guys, it's me, Sherry. I'm at the park, vlogging in my car because that's the only place that I can make videos. I just wanted to touch base. I've changed my page and the whole dynamics of it because with my new job, they want us to do our business stuff on our personal page, and that's fine. I can do that. Anyway, it's been a really rough week. If you know me, you'll already know that. But it's been a rough 2 weeks, and if you know me, you'll already know that. If you don't know me, stick around. You're getting ready to learn a lot about me because this is going to be my outlet for everything that I need to talk about that I have no one to talk to. For a couple of years now, I've really started to believe that maybe I might be on the autism spectrum. And, if that's the case, it's very mild, but it really fits with what I'm going through now in this last couple of weeks and going through this breakup with someone who was very special to me has been eye-opening in a lot of ways. I've always had relationship issues, and this is not any different. Not COVID. But in the last few years, as I've raised the boys, if you don't know me, I'm raising 3 boys with autism spectrum disorder. They're all very different, but they're all alike in a lot of ways. And, there's certain criteria that's pretty generally true about people who are autistic when it comes to social issues or the way that you think or the way that you feel or how you handle stress, those kind of things. And a lot of people are going to hear me say this and roll their eyes and say whatever. But a lot of people will hopefully be open to it. And what I want is to look out and reach out to people who might be having some of the same issues. A lot of adults who don't know why things fuck up around them all the time, maybe they have the same issue. The reason this particular situation has caused me to think that, to be a lot more sure that that's probably my problem, is that, over the last couple of weeks in trying to deal with losing someone that I care a lot about and that I would really like to be in my life, even as a friend, is that my ways of communicating are a struggle for me, and they always have been. They always have been. And that's just a fact that I feel like I've got to face, is that, for so many years, and I guess because when you have a problem, autism, like a couple years ago when I realized that I had aphantasia, which is the inability to see things in your brain, if people can close their eyes and imagine a beach. I've never been able to have pictures in my mind like that. And so at like 48 or 49, I found out that most people can do that, and it was mind-blowing. It's not life-changing, but mind-blowing, because you go your whole life with as something just being part of who you are, and you don't really realize that it could be a problem, or it could be, it's just, I don't want to say a problem. It's not a problem that I can't visualize things in my brain, but it's just very shocking to realize things like that about yourself. And so, thinking about all the spectrum stuff, and looking back at my life and my childhood and how I was as a child and how I am now, and how I can get obsessed or over certain things, it just seems to fit that may be what the problem is. Um, and I'll go into more stuff in different videos, specific stuff, but right now I just want to talk about this particular situation in relationships. Single for 12 or 13 years, and I had accepted that, and that was fine. I didn't really look for anything, and then when I realized that it was still a possibility, it's something that is very important to me, and I hope that I can have the opportunity again someday to have that lifelong relationship, because it is a lot of fun to have someone just to care about you and be around, especially when you're going through a lot. But it's hard with the three boys and taking care of my mom, and that's a lot to expect someone to take on. And I know that in this particular situation there was issues from the beginning that were probably going to be issues lifelong if they weren't talked about or dealt with. And some people don't want to talk about issues, or I've always had this real desire to be real blunt and forthright and talk about issues. And not everybody feels the same way I do. So anyway, I just realizing through this breakup that, I sit, and I've done this so many times in my life, and I don't try to talk to people one-on-one, because you can't erase what you've already said. So if I'm upset or something's bothering me, I tend to write it. Even before the internet, I'd write letters, and now, of course, we have text and we have emails and all that stuff, but I don't even think anyone uses emails anymore except for junk mail. But anyway, I would sit and spend days working on a letter or a text, trying to get everything worded just perfectly so that it's not offensive or it's not hurtful, and that it expresses how I feel and how much I care. And I just put so much time and effort into trying to explain how I feel. And over and over again, I've always, even as a young person in relationships, not been understood. It's always been taken the wrong way. And then I go back and reread it, and I think, what could I have said differently? What could I have done differently? It just becomes this obsession of what is wrong with me, and why can't I communicate effectively without hurting someone's feelings or pissing them off more or totally shutting them down. And it's been a recurring theme in my life. And when I was younger, people say, I don't understand what you're talking about. I don't understand you. Where are you going? I don't want to talk anymore. And I've always thought, what is wrong with them? I mean, I'm pretty clear in how I'm talking. But now it's like, okay, what's wrong with me? Why can't I communicate when I want to communicate without sounding like a person who doesn't have feelings? Because I do have feelings. I have very deep feelings. And I think about my boys, and when they're trying to talk to me about something, Gavin especially, because he's getting older, and he'll come in and he'll say things to me, and I'll be like, that sounded really rude, Gavin. And he's like, I'm sorry, I didn't mean it to sound that way. And then I'll think about myself. So watching them, raising them, I'm raising my 3 great nephews. I might have already said that, and they are all on the spectrum. And how they communicate, and how they talk to each other, and how they talk to me, and it's really blunt, and it's really almost robotic or non-feeling. And I think that a lot of people with autism have that same problem, is that they come across as being not thoughtful or not compassionate, when really they are. It's really hard to communicate. And I'll write texts or letters and I'll throw them away and I'll rewrite them and I'll rewrite. I literally will spend days coming up with what I want to say to somebody, and then it's just completely rejected. Like, I write something and I think they're gonna say, "Oh, now I get it. Okay, well, come on, let's talk about it." But what I get is, fuck off. What is wrong with you? And it's very soul crushing, to think that you're pouring something out to somebody and they're not understanding it. And so, at 51 years old, it's caused me to say, it's time for me to look at what the problem is. What is the problem? I'm not a bad person. I care about people deeply. But when I think about it and me and who I am, and I look back over my lifetime, I can see those signs that I missed. And, like I said, for the last year or two, and I'm looking at my kids, and even my mom's like, yeah, I can see where you were probably on the spectrum as a child, but they just didn't diagnose stuff like that back then. But looking back at myself in relationships, or even family relationships, friendships, whatever, I'm always trying to look around and figure out what's the right thing to do. What am I supposed to do? And I try to do that. And it's kind of like, I don't want to say scripting, because I really don't do things that I don't want to do, but it's kind of like always working really hard to figure out how to do things the right way, because I don't want to mess up. And if I feel like I've messed up, I kind of have what people might refer to as a meltdown, where I start freaking out, and it's so, to me at this point right now, it's so obvious that that's probably what has been the problem this whole time. I've had doctors say, well, you've got depression, or well, you've got anxiety, and I've always like, no, I really don't think that. I don't think I have depression. I'm not sad. Somebody on one of the adult autism pages said the other day that they really just feel like they wish they weren't alive, and they wish they hadn't been born, and they wish this, but I don't want to commit suicide. And I'm kind of related to that, because I'm like, I've always felt like I don't fit in, I don't belong anywhere. I can fit in everywhere for a little while. And that's called masking. In the autism community, that's called masking. Well, you can look at the situation and see how everyone's acting, and you can sort of fit into that. And I've always been very good at that. There's a lot of things about myself as a child that, looking back now, I'm like, wow, man, that was really prevalent. Sorry, I'm going to try to smoke here because I want to. But anyway, so that's where I'm going with this page. I want to use this page to talk about myself and because in all of my relationships, it's always been, to me, an equal, there's always, everybody's done something wrong and everybody's done a lot of things right. And this year is the best year of my life because of this particular relationship. And now, of course, if it's over and it's 2020, and it's like, well, okay, I can deal with it. I don't want to, but that's life. Sometimes you don't want to deal with things that you have to deal with. But anyway, I just want to make vlogs because, number one, I like to video, and number two, it's easier for me to talk to people when they're not sitting right here, because then I don't have to look at them. I don't have to do that whole eye contact thing, and I don't have to try to explain. And, those have been my biggest triggers in my life. Being misunderstood and having to explain how I feel when I feel like people should just know how I feel. I mean, I feel like everyone should feel this way if you're in this situation. And that's a little bit egotistical in a way, but then if you think about it as from an autism standpoint, it's really just being very literal, you know? And I've always been very literal. It's like, I've always had this gift of being able to put myself in other people's shoes. And maybe that wasn't a gift. Maybe that's something that I learned as a child in order to function and get by, you know. Um, there's so many things about attachments and communication and stimming and obsessive things. And, it just really seems to fit. And maybe that's just me trying to deal with a bad situation. But I don't know. I'm going to talk to my doctor about it, and I'm going to see if there's a way to find out if that's a possibility. It's not going to change anything about my life, and it's not going to change who I am or what I do day to day, but, it'd be nice to have an opinion of a professional to weigh in on what they think as well, because it would be amazing to me for all the years that I've worked with people with disabilities and having these kids, and to not have known myself, if that's true about myself, to have not seen it. But then I think about the other things about myself, the big things like being a lesbian, coming out at 27. That's pretty late to be doing that, really. The aphantasia, or the inability to visualize, and then realizing that it's not just visually that people can see things. It's auditory, it's taste, it's all these abilities that they have. And just for the reference, those two things are a lot more, the percentage of people having autism and being either one of those is a lot higher than a neurotypical person. It's like autism goes, a lot of people on the autism spectrum have gender issues or sexuality differences. I don't want to say issues, but differences. And, I've run into a few people at this point who also have the mental blindness and all that stuff. It's just so weird to me to find things out about myself at this age. I'm like 51. I'm like, okay, maybe I do have autism. Maybe I am destined to have certain issues in relationships and things like that, because the same things tend to keep happening in those areas. So the only good thing about that being the case is that at least then I would be able to be more open with a potential partner about that. And, if they're open to being concerned about making something work, being able to sit down and talk about things, it's a big thing with me. I mean, it's so weird that I feel like I can do or be anything. I just need I just really need clarity about what's expected from me and from a situation. And I think that that's probably more so than most people. And I think that may be one of an autistic trait, is that if I don't know what's going on, I freak out. And if I knew that, hey, this is, something that I deal with, it's not about I'm jealous or I'm obsessive or I'm this or I'm that. It's because I specifically don't know what I'm supposed to be doing right now. And I've always been that way. Where I need clarity, in especially in a relationship. Tell me who you want me to be. Tell me what you're wanting. Tell me what kind of relationship we're having, and I'm good. But if I'm thinking in my mind, this is what's happening, and I mean, I don't have. It's so hard to try to talk about and explain, because I can, like I said before, I can be whatever I need to be in a situation, but if I don't know what's expected, then that's when I get into a situation where I melt down or freak out or whatever you want to call it. You know, I feel like I don't know. It's a big issue. Relationships, attachments, communication, social expectations, how you're supposed to behave, what's appropriate, what's inappropriate. A lot of people with autism, people see them, especially if they're higher functioning, and I don't like to use those labels, but a lot of people look at them and they think, "Hey, you're just a jerk." But they don't understand that I'm not a jerk. I'm just literal and I'm blunt and I'm trying to communicate in the best way that I know how. Anyway, that's what this page is going to be about, and everything else that goes on in my life. I'm just gonna vlog it all. If you want to watch, you can watch. If you don't want to watch, you don't have to watch. But at least I'll have a record. Everybody says, you should write a book. You should write a book. I don't want to write a book. I don't want to write. I don't want to do that much work. I just then vlog it, and then in 2 years, I'll go back and watch these videos and see how I feel about it then, you know? But anyway, that's me saying that I'm pretty sure that I'm on the autism spectrum. And it's not surprising, and at the same time, it's just so weird to be 99.99% sure and be like, how did I never see this before? It would make your life so much better if you were born and you just had this book to tell you all about yourself. This is who you are, Sherry. You're not going to be able to visualize. You're going to like girls. You're going to be, you know, on the autism spectrum. So you're going to have relationship issues. You're going to have communication issues. You're going to have whatever. You know, that would have been really nice to have, but didn't work that way, did it? Anyway, I'm okay. I've had a really bad couple of weeks. I've been really in like a really bad place, but I'll get back to myself. And I'm going to ramble on now because I don't know what else to say. Anyway, this is my first vlog. There'll be more to come whenever I can get away from my crazy house. Maybe I'll just vlog with my kids in the background screaming and hollering. Maybe I'll put some video up of what they're like and their autism. Anyway, if you know me and you're part of my family, or you've known me for a really long time, let me know what you think about what I'm saying. Especially if you knew me as a child, because as a child I was very blunt and what might be considered inappropriate sometimes. And just know that I do love all of you guys and a lot of friends that have supported me. And I'll be there for anyone else who wants to talk about life, relationships, different abilities, ways to handle things in a different way so that it doesn't bite you in the ass. Anyway, I guess I better go home. My poor mama is at home with my boys. All right. Peace out.